Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency meeting for April 9th of 2025. I'm Jim Cooper from the Olympia City Council and Board Chair. We have a packed agenda and a full room and a full Zoom room, so it's really exciting to see everyone. Welcome. We'll go ahead and do some introductions. Let me see what Commissioner Klaus's question is really quick.
Hey, good morning. I'm coming in person and I have an executive session happening with the Board of County Commissioners now. So I'm going to hop onto that real quick for like 5 minutes and then I'll be there in 5 minutes in person.
Perfect.
Is that going to cause any quorum issues?
What's that?
Will that cause any quorum issues or do you have a quorum?
We're good. We're good.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
You. Okay. Great. So that we'll take that as Commissioner Klaus's introduction and then we'll pop through the board. Greg.
Hi, Greg Brotherton, Jefferson County Commissioner and Vice Chair.
Mike.
Mike French, Clallam County Commissioner.
Dave.
Dave Tobin, Pacific County Commissioner.
Georgia.
Georgia Miller, Grace Harbor County Commissioner.
Randy.
Randy Neville, Mason County Commissioner.
Great. And Jeff, would you introduce yourself and our guests?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Johnston, the Executive Director, joined by ORCAA staff this morning, Mike Schultz, Compliance Manager, Odell Hadley, Senior Air Monitoring Specialist, Tyson Justice, Financial Services Manager, Lynn Harding, soon to be retiring Financial Services Manager, Tiffany Flores, Record Specialist and ORCAA's Public Records Officer. Also online via Zoom, Dan Nelson, ORCAA's Communications Manager, running Zoom this morning, and Chris Kraus, ORCAA's IT System Administrator, also helping with Zoom this morning. And then our guests from the State Auditor's Office, I'll let you all introduce yourselves.
Pat McCarthy, Washington State Auditor.
Tina Watkins, Director of Local Audit. Lisa Carroll, I'm the Audit Manager for Team Olympia, who audits ORCAA.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And we have also the Assistant Director of Communications here.
He may
Oh, did he leave this one?
Yeah.
I'll
Oh,
take
so she was here.
He's here in memory.
Okay, so I'm gonna look for an approval to the agenda, but I need to ask for one amendment. And we'll explain it more when we get to it, but right before presentations, I'd like to add a standalone item to consider action on accepting the budget from the Finance Committee. And we'll explain more about why I'm saying accepting and not approving based on the public hearing timelines when we get to that item, if that's approved in the amendment of the agenda. So,
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the agenda with that amendment included. I
is there
second.
a second? Okay. A motion, a second, any further discussion or amendment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you very much. So that takes us to our chair reports. I'm gonna kind of adjust the order as under chair's prerogative here, because I want to do the fun one last. So well, the fun, sad one, I guess, is really the case here. But so let's go ahead and start with the Finance Committee report, Greg.
Sure. I'll jump in and please, as I said, please interject from the Finance Committee. We had a full Finance Committee with our new member, Mike French, there today, as well as Randy and Jim, and Tyson did a great job. The Q3 financial report is kind of business as usual. No big surprises. Everything is humming along. You know, we're still at kind of 70% of expenses and 86% of revenue already. So we kind of front load that with the assessments coming early. And then the big work that we worked on was the first read of the 2026 fiscal 26 year budget, and it looks good. No big surprises there. There's a pretty significant move for the database work that's going to happen in the next year. So $150,000 moved over from a contingency fund there to be able to do that database work. We still are keeping that trend line that we had with this year's budget going of kind of dipping into our reserves a little bit, though there's some savings as we are not replacing the financial specialist role. We're going to keep that role open right now. So the Finance Committee was really happy with the budget, ready to move it forward. I think we might talk a little bit more about the timing, but all the whole board had access to the budget in today's packet, but we are recommending that we move it forward for a hearing in June, which means it'll go out for public comment and testimony prior to that meeting. So if anyone has notes on it, they should reach out to Tyson or Jeff prior to that. And then, of course, we'll be also considering 2025 budget amendment when Tyson does his finance report a little bit later for some legal fees with the case down in Grays Harbor County. I think those were the high points, but you know, we also took a moment to appreciate the great service of Lynn and also the seamless transition that it has been to Tyson's leadership in the finance department. So thank you guys. Did I miss anything?
I think that was right. Anything to add, Lynn or Tyson?
I have nothing.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
I have nothing to
Okay,
add.
Oh.
great, great. Any questions for Greg? Thank you, sir. Okay, so the next item is so Jeff and I have just been having a conversation around how we might have a better engagement with the board around the work in your communities, so we all know each other better and know what we're doing. You know, sometimes related to clean air, but maybe just related to the happenings in the region. From our government standpoint, we've often learned things from each other in these meetings because of the shape of our region and the makeup of our region. And so Jeff and I would like to recommend that we start adding a board member roundtable agenda item to each month so that we can have some space for board members to share what's going on in community, mostly related to clean air, but maybe other things as time goes along. So just want to check in and see if that sounds reasonable, or if you have any thoughts in that space. Did I miss you? No. Okay, so I'm gonna take that as you don't want to do it because you're so silent, or no? Georgia, what do you think?
I think that anytime we can hear from other counties is a good thing. So I would welcome that conversation.
Great, so we'll work to get that in the right space in the agenda, and we might move it around a little bit as we try and figure out what the best timing is. Great, thank you. And then next to last is to look at, just to remind you, this is a not quite always like this everywhere we are represented in interjurisdictionals, but at ORCAA, the bylaws allow for the alternate to vote. And so we want to just make sure that everyone knows that your alternate should be coming if you're not here. And we have that expectation. And so all the alternates are on the email invite to the meeting with the packet, as are managers and administrators in some of those positions as well. So just a reminder that we really need to make sure that we try to have participation across the region at every board meeting. So if you're struggling with your alternate and you're having trouble, please talk to Jeff or I, and we'll see if there's any way that we can accommodate you.
And if I could just add, I have done some onboarding meeting, a number of myself with a number of ORCAA staff. So if your alternate hasn't been onboarded, but would like an introduction to ORCAA and a little bit more about what we do, happy to have those conversations. So.
Right. Okay. So now the bittersweet moment. And I said fun because I think it's great when people are able to retire and plan to go garden and hang out and travel and have had a life of public service that deserves that. And so I'm just excited and sad for Lynn to be retiring, but leaving ORCAA and leaving quite a legacy. I'm actually, I don't know if people here know this, but I'm actually a housing authority commissioner, where Lynn worked before this for 19 years doing finance in Thurston County Housing Authority. And I would have to say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we're still living the legacy there that you left. Our finances are in a great place, and it's because of the foundation that you set up. And I already saw in the finance committee meeting this morning that Tyson is picking up where he left off and building on your foundation as well. It's not very often that you get to see a transition happen in real time. And So I'm really excited that that was able to happen before you retire, and that we have your shoes, at least in the learning mode, to be filled, as we move ahead.
Training wheels.
Right, right. So Lynn has been at ORCAA for 22 years. I don't know if that's the longest right now, maybe not, but definitely a career of service. She was appointed as our administrative services manager on July 1st of 2005. So interestingly, on the first day of the fiscal year, that must have been planned. She's been our chief financial officer. She's also managed our critical HR functions and managed this building. We have a lot of small tenants on the other half of the building, and she's the building manager that keeps up with their leases and tracks the deposits and the maintenance for the building and keeping the major upgrades going so that we don't fall behind. And in that, she also spearheaded, and I'm trying to remember when, 2013, the ORCAA offices moved from that side of the building to this side of the building. And so we lost a larger tenant, and it made sense for us as we were growing to move over here. And that was a monumental task. And as a board member, I came one month and it was over there, and I came the next month and it was here. And it was seamless, and there was, the beautiful remodel that you can see out in the front, and that was all led by Lynn. Lynn also was instrumental, and it's really cool because not often do you see your finance folks engaged in the legislature. And so she has always kind of kept us up with the RCWs, and as Randy said in finance, what's required versus what's desired. And she was instrumental in helping the legislature change the policies in RCW 70A.15.1610 to allow air agencies to actually do their own warrants and have more control over their own financial matters. So we didn't used to be able to do that. The county did those things for us, is my sense. And now the county operates more like a bank for us, and doesn't have authority over our finances. Lastly, Lynn created our agency wellness committee in 2006. And most of us know that having that wellness committee through our AWC relationship for our insurance gets us a 2% discount on our health insurance. And it brings this really great opportunity for our employees to come together and focus on health and wellness. And I imagine more camaraderie that comes just from having a little different conversation during the work day. So Lynn, all of those things, plus all of the things that everyone else is going to say about you when I get done talking, are the reason that we're so proud and so excited about the legacy that you're leaving. And I just want to thank you for everything. Like, every time I've had a crazy question or idea, you've brought it to life in our financials. And Randy, I think, and Greg would say the same thing, as we've worked so closely with you over the years. And thank you from ORCAA and from the region.
Thank you, sir.
So let's, I think I want to do is open it up, and we'll kind of see if other folks have things they'd like to say. Then we'll come back to you. You can introduce your guest and see if there's anything you'd like to say. Okay? Do you want to go first or last? Yeah. I'm giving you this opportunity.
I will go last.
Okay. So who would like to have say something?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Lynn, you already know how highly I think of you. It wasn't easy either. As you know, when I first came in here, we worked together. Pat, when I first come in, especially, I expected quite a bit, especially from an environmental agency. I expected it would very much be a hard time getting the numbers I needed and getting them put out in the way that we could all see them. And you were the proof that it doesn't have to be that way. As was seen in this finance meeting we had before, you made me lazy a little bit. I had not asked as many questions. We have a new person. I have to learn how to communicate. I have to make sure we have I got to the point where I could trust your numbers so implicitly that it meant that I had to do a lot less work, which probably should always do the work that I need to do. But your excellence is just so out there for everybody to see that works with you. Anybody that works with you is gonna know what professionalism looks like, and they're gonna know what excellence looks like. You have definitely left this place in a better place than it ever could have been before you got here. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the hard work you did and all the patience you showed with me to adhere to all the questions I had. And I gotta tell you, I look at this organization and I know when we read these books, I know that he's gonna do well. But I'm still afraid anytime anybody else new comes in. But you've assured me how incredible he is, and I believe you because everything you've ever told us since he's got here has been honest, straightforward, and accurate. So I know he's gonna be great. Thank you for the service that you've done and allowing me to work with you for all these years. It's been a bunch of years now. Funny how time just keeps going. But thank you. You're incredible, and thank you for bringing your spouse so that he can see how much we love and appreciate you here.
Thank you.
And I know what you do. I still think you need to stay. But when you have some excellence, you hang on to it. You put a saddle on, you ride it until you can't do it anymore.
So you're wanting is that a motion to
Yeah,
decline the
yes,
retirement?
I definitely decline.
Your letter is rejected. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll put it in the minute.
Other thoughts from board or staff? Greg? We can't hear you. It says you're unmuted though.
That.
There you go.
Okay, great. Thanks for the opportunity. I said a little bit of this in the finance committee too, but I want to say it for all the world to hear, right? I've served on this board for 6 years now, and Lynn has been here as our financial steward the whole time. And I honestly did not know a lot about the budget process or fiscal responsibility and nonprofits when I came here, and I learned a lot from Lynn's stewardship as well as her storytelling. I think that the narrative that she attaches to these financial reports and budgets is as important for herding the cats of elected officials that come here to try to provide policy oversight and fiscal responsibility. And it's always been a pleasure to do that with Lynn. And even as I'm in school now, I often ask myself in a financial decision analysis class, what would Lynn do? And I think I loved how Jim kind of held up the legacy that she still has at the Housing Authority. I have a feeling that it's going to continue here as well, and the responsibilities and the demonstration and narrative that you've brought to our fiscal side will continue. So I hope you have a great retirement. Get your hands dirty in the garden, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else online? And I'm sure that staff will have an opportunity, but I'll open that up for you or Jeff and Jake.
I'll go next. Every agency has people who are visionaries. Every agency has people who are detail oriented, and every agency has people who are worker bees. It is rare that you find someone who is all of that combined. And Lynn, as an attorney who represents a lot of different agencies, it is important to have somebody who has that eye to detail that you do, and who can take care of things and spot issues and know how to resolve them, or know when to go get help or when to go ask the lawyers. I have appreciated you because you have that eye for knowing what to ask about and knowing how to resolve things. And we're certainly going to miss that. And I appreciate the breadth of understanding that you have about HR issues, because I am not an HR lawyer. And I have always appreciated your ability to say, this might be an issue. And that is very special and rare indeed. And I always get the most interesting questions. I love the fact that I don't have to worry about the agency's finances because they are so well taken care of. And you make your lawyer's life a lot easier, and we're gonna miss you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, so I'll just say, so Lynn, we are going to miss you. And and very excited about Tyson, about taking over your mantle, and staff, we will be having a retirement celebration ceremony later this month. And so I'll save most of my words for there, but it's been great working with you for a little over 3 years now. I've learned a lot about agency budgets and how to do what I do in my role, and couldn't do what I do without your support. So thank you.
Last chance to roast Lynn before she roasts you back. Oh, there you go, Dan. Go ahead.
So just really briefly, talked a lot about Lynn's financial acumen and it's legendary. She and I were the first ones to move upstairs after we moved to the other side of the building. And so I've been able to eavesdrop on some of her phone calls, and it's really telling that she is a fighter for the agency, not just in the budget, but I mean, listening to her talk to vendors that screwed up and being calm and in control, but incredibly firm and direct to get, whether it's a telephone company that wasn't responding or a bank company that messed up credit card accounts, or the EPA and their nightmarish grant online system. She's very firm, very forceful, but very professional. And having been here 21 of her 22 years, it'll be a big change for the office here.
Dan. Dave, go ahead.
I'd just like to add my thanks to Lynn. I haven't been here as long as most of the rest of you, but you know, it's incredibly important for an organization to have somebody like that. And thank you, Lynn, for all of your service, and good luck down the road.
Okay, Lynn.
I would love to introduce my husband, Marty Wooten.
Hi, Marty.
After the kind sharing this wonderful time, so I'll take a deep breath. I want to thank auditors, state auditors. Thanks for coming. I wrote just a couple notes. You know, I value who you are, what you are, and what you do for our state, and all the entities that you audit, and you know, you got knowledgeable staff, great training. I appreciate that you definitely promote same things I promote: accountability and you know, public trust. We want that when any agency, whether it's a public or private, you want trust. I know I'm honored and also on behalf of the agency to be selected for the stewardship award that you're going to be providing. And, you know, I work with a lot of knowledgeable staff here at ORCAA who take pride in what they do and deeply committed. They love what they do. As you know, fiscal responsibility is definitely a priority for me. And it's an art that I believe, accountability, responsible, and transparent. That's art. Everyone should bring it. Everyone has it. Everyone has the ability. You know, we strive to be the best we can, and I work with tremendous staff. I've crossed paths in my 22 years with mentors, teachers here at the agency. So take an opportunity and turn it into something to celebrate. You know, good and bad, tough times, hard times, good times. There's always a reason to come back and celebrate. So we got a new leader here at ORCAA 3 years ago, and what a difference. It's going to continue to make a difference. And I feel good and comfortable leaving here knowing that Tyson is going to take the reins. And it's amazing how much he's already pulling ahead. So thank you all.
Thank you, Lynn. We appreciate you.
Yes.
Okay, so let's keep moving with our packed agenda. So we have a public comment. So We have members of the public here that like to make comment.
It looks like we do have some guests, Patricia Jones. I don't know if they're wanting to make comment.
No, we're just here to learn and see what we can do to support.
Great. Well, welcome. We love it anytime we have public attend. So glad you could be able to be online.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Okay, and then Dan, any public communication that we should know about in the last month?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, great, thank you. So then that takes us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to
So-
approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion from Dave and a second from Emily. Are there any questions, comments, or polls? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. So that then takes us to our amended agenda item, which is to consider an acceptance of the budget. And so I can explain this, but I'd like to have Jeff explain the timeline for the budget before I make a recommendation.
Sure. So we presented a draft fiscal year 2026 budget to the Finance Committee today. But because there's less than 30 days between our May Finance Committee and board meeting and our June meeting, when the board is scheduled to approve our fiscal year 2026 budget, we need to go out for public comment in advance of that meeting. So we'll go out for comment on May 9th. And then again, then our Finance Committee and board meeting will be on May 14th. And at the June meeting is when we'll have the public hearing for our budget. So anyway, just because of how the dates of how our meetings fell this year, that's the way things came out. So we just wanted to be clear on this. So yeah, is that enough?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Go on next.
Yeah, so and just in coming out of that meeting and thinking about that, I wanted to make sure that the board said go to public comment. And so at the Finance Committee meeting, as Greg talked about in his report, the Finance Committee approved the budget and forwarded it to the board as a recommendation. And so I'd like to ask the board to take an action to accept the budget so that we can move forward with public comment pending deliberations at the June board meeting. Is there a motion or
Mr. Chair,
discussion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we go ahead and we forward this budget to the next phase, which would be the community input and stuff, not for the approval of the budget, just the approval to moving forward.
Just move forward to the public comment process.
Yes, into the hearing process.
Okay,
Second.
so a motion, I have a motion and a second in the room and a third from Georgia. Is there any discussion or questions? I want to make sure everybody understands this. It's a little bit awkward thanks to RCW. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to Jeff and staff and everyone for making this a really clear process, even though it's a little awkward with the timing. We had a heads up at the last meeting that the timeline was gonna be a little weird. I remember taking notes on that, and so I don't feel like I'm being blindsided, even though the process is a little bit different. So I just wanted to thank you for that clarity.
Anyone else? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you to our guests for bearing with us. I wanted to get that taken care of before we lose quorum at the end of the meeting, maybe, so. But I'm really excited about our guests, and I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Jeff to, am I turning over to you? Introduce this agenda item.
Sure.
And then we'll move into the conversation.
Okay, well, thank you. So I'm very excited today to welcome State Auditor McCarthy and her colleagues from the State Auditor's Office. We were notified, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago now that ORCAA had received a very exciting award. And so, and I think it's just so fitting that it's on Lynn's last meeting right before she retires. And so an exciting day. You know, Lynn is certainly a big part of, I mean, she's been our lead financial person for 22 years, but this is also an exciting day for the agency, because it is, you know, the award is more than just one person. It is an agency that sets expectations and clarity and act as stewards. And so with that, I'll hand it off
You
to.
just stole my thunder. Well, for those of you that don't know, I have the, of course, distinct honor of being your Washington State Auditor. But prior to that, I was Pierce County Executive. Prior to that, I was County Auditor, and prior to that, I was a school board member, so I've held a lot of elective office. And of course, I got to know Randy on some of these regional bodies that have been created over time. That bull in the kind of China shop that he can be. But what he said was, you know, trust but verify, and that's our key motto. And Lynn, you exemplify that, trust but verify. So you're not threatened. You know, sometimes I think staff feel maybe threatened, or that there's a lack of confidence when a board questions certain things or asks questions that you may not even have the answers. And it's always delightful to hear how functional an organization can be. And that is really not only in the leadership, but it is in all the people that do all the pieces of what makes a good organization, what I like to call a high-performing organization. So you're being recognized for being a high-performing organization. And we don't give these stewardship awards. We've been giving them since 2015. And we only give a handful of them a year. And it's really for outstanding work. Sometimes we'll give them for an organization, or let me say government, at the local level or even at the state level, that has gone awry, gone off the rails, but they've been able to turn their organization around. And it's usually by people, especially people in your finance office, if it's financial, that really can make sure that you're on a good, steady ground. So when you do that work. So I'm blessed with having great staff, as you mentioned, Lynn, who do this work. And I tell my staff, there's 400 plus of us in the state auditor's office. We audit all governments. All state agencies, and all local governments, all special purpose districts and general public entities, general like cities and counties. So all you counties, your staff are familiar with us coming into your counties, auditing you as well. And my approach and our approach in the state auditor's office is to be constructive. Sometimes things, you know, go awry. And it's important for us to be able to tell the good, the bad, and the ugly, and for it's incumbent upon organizations to deal with those. We don't have authority to come in and punish you. We just opine and we elevate the issues we see in government. I think there's unfortunately a bad perception, both at the national level and maybe at the state level, local level as well. And my experience is that the general public doesn't realize how much government is audited. And you're audited a lot. And it's a healthy thing. And the work that we do, I think, is noble work. And the work that you have done is noble work. And I think it's people like you recognizing somebody that has done something so significant to keep you as buoyant, knowing how to pivot when the times are tough, knowing how to build your organization. So we're delighted. You are the very first one in 2025 that is getting this award. We only did 6 of them that last year. And so we don't give them a lot. So this is very special. And I was just telling Tina here that it's very timely. So you're here in your same capacity for you to hear the words of what I'm going to read, the letter that you're going to get with this little award that we're going to give to you, to the agency as a whole. And because it does take everybody, but sometimes those significant people truly make a difference. And I think you all recognize that just by the comments that I've just heard you say. So, dear board members, the Office of the Washington State Auditor recognizes the Olympic Region Clean Air Agency's dedication to making government work better and its commitment to the audit process. The agency's leadership promotes a culture of transparency and accountability for public resources and strives to maintain strong, well-documented internal control processes that ensure compliance with accounting standards and state law. Our auditors have been impressed with the agency's commitment to excellence during our audits. We would specifically like to highlight the work of the Financial Services Manager, Lynn Harding. Lynn has worked at the agency for 22 years, and throughout our years working with Lynn, she has promoted a collaborative working relationship with SAO and demonstrated she cares about the work she does. Lynn prepares the annual reports and consistently ensures she provides complete, organized, and timely supporting documentation. She responds to audit inquiries and requests promptly, which helps facilitate a smooth audit process. Further, Lynn and other agency staff are quick to implement any audit recommendations and actively utilize SAO's resources, such as trainings and the client help desk. These efforts have not gone unnoticed and assist the agency with efficiencies in the audit process and positive audit results. It is apparent that Lynn and agency leadership want to be accountable to their residents, good stewards of public funds, understand the value of our audits, and foster a positive and professional working relationship with our office. So on behalf of the over 7 million people that live in the state of Washington, we want to thank you for your hard work and dedication to Washington residents. So bravo to all of you, and especially to Lynn.
Cool.
Gonna give it to Jeff. Why don't you and Lynn come up here, and then we'll give you this and take a photo. Oh,
I think so.
Standing in front.
Pat, you need to come over here so it'll
Good
work on
idea.
the Zoom.
Okay, I'm going all the way. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. This is a true honor.
Yeah, well, you're great. Good job. Good job, everybody.
There may be other comments, but as you're getting back to your chair, I'll just say, I've been through a lot of audits in my career, both private companies and with SAO, and just so appreciate what you said about it being a continuous improvement, relationship-based process and not like an adversarial regulatory one. And that's how it's supposed to be. So thanks for embodying that as an agency.
Right, and it's true, and I think we believe in being constructive and being instructive and helping you help yourself. And it's clear that you've had a good guiding light through all of this, and you're gonna continue. And so don't be afraid when they ask tough questions, especially Randy. Or ask annoying questions, maybe, especially Randy. No, I'm just kidding, but I really think, I was just saying to Randy, if I knew when I first started, I was 34 years old and I first was on the school board when my 4 kids were in public education. And if I knew what I know today, I would have been a better school board member. So good questions. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we trust, but we verify all the time.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Please.
Very cool. It's a gorgeous award. It is.
Figure out where to prominently display it in our lobby.
Little shadow box.
Our lobby.
Not in here.
Or in here, yes.
The lobby's where people will see it though. I like the lobby. Here, it's only gonna be us. We already know we have it. Let's promote it out there.
Do like a big thing with like a tribute to Lynn next to it. Frame it.
Right, by a lock of her hair.
Make sure to take it home. That's really funny. Okay, so let's jump back to our agenda. And we're gonna do our second regional focus. And we're gonna go to Mason County today. So I'm not sure who's kicking this off.
So I will start and then I'll hand it off to Randy.
The deal wasn't me.
Well, we'll So as Jim mentioned, this is the second installment of our regional focus presentations. So approximately every other board meeting, want to focus on a different county or city. In February, we focused on Jefferson County. And so today we're here to look at Mason County. So Randy, we can take it.
Dan, that's backwards. There you go.
Yeah. So we can jump in, or if you have anything that you would like to say about your county, what kind of makes Mason County unique, or would you like to set some context?
I'll
for
have
us?
that, sorry for the rest of you, but Mason County is the most awesome county in the state. The people are absolutely phenomenal. You're talking to a guy that ran away from home from California at 15. I moved to Mason County. They took me in and raised me as I lived in the woods with no power, no water. So I actually believe what I'm telling you. So the people that we are going to talk about are some of the greatest people you will ever meet in your life, even if we are a little aggressive, a little over the top sometimes. They not only will be the first ones to kill you, they're the first ones to defend you when anybody else comes to kill you. So other than that, it's up to you.
With that context.
Yeah.
All right, then with that, I think we'll go to Dan perhaps to
Okay, so let me. So, yeah, Mason is one of our 6 counties, as you know. Just to remind everybody, it's kind of in the middle of our jurisdiction. Most of us drive through it anytime we head north to Jefferson or Clallam. It's got, well, all that. Let me get to my next slide. I'm having an issue here. So we've got most of the people in Mason live in the lowlands or near the water. This is from the wildland urban interface overlay the county did a few years back. You can see where the population sits. That's the urban interface. To the west is mostly forest land, private timber, national forest, and national park. It's a pretty dominant forestry history in the county. Some marine and fishing along the Hood Canal and Puget Sound, but it really is a two-sided county with the lowlands along the water and then the mountain and forest. As Odell might mention, the contours of Salish Sea, Hood Canal, Puget Sound really funnel air through, so we see some unique weather hitting there and some unique air quality concerns at times in Shelton especially, but up into Belfair and Tahuya as well. So not super heavily populated, 1 household per 40 acres on average, 68,000 residents, according to the 23 census. And they are growing since 2010, about 13% in population in the last 15 years. And again, the Olympic National Park sits on the far northeast corner, but the cities are down in the lowlands. We've been doing a lot of outreach and work with the county for many years. Really had some great opportunities myself the last 3 years of working with the schools. You can see some of the thank you cards that I'm thrilled to get. The little purple and pink art down at the bottom of the one is showing my inversion lab experiment that I think Emily used in her outreach last month as well. So it's great to be out there with the kids and getting good feedback and sharing information. We also are working with the local fire districts and the county on wildfire ready communities out with DNR and local fire districts. Randy's been to at least, I think, both of those that I was at in the past year. So lots of outreach and great community participation. And we also have air monitoring in the county, so I'll turn that over to Odell.
Thanks. This is a beautiful picture of Dan. I think you took this. Is this Skokomish?
This is the South Fork Skokomish.
One of my favorite places to go hiking with my husband. So some of our favorite hiking is in Mason County, and it's not that far away. So it's It's a great place to go. National Park, Browns Creek, that whole area is just. So we have been monitoring air quality in some way or another in Mason County since 1970. The first location was at Shelton City Hall, and what we were measuring there was total suspended particulate, which is all particles of whatever that stay in the air that don't fall out. But then also we were monitoring the particles that were big enough to be falling out of the sky. And the way that we did that was to put collection plates out and just, it was a sticky surface, and then whatever would fall or land onto it, we would weigh that every day, and that would give us the total fallout for the day. And I apologize, I actually, while I was looking through our historical records, I found some tapes of the fall, like literal tapes that had the particles on them. And I will probably try and remember to bring those for the Grays Harbor. I actually think they were from Grays Harbor when we were doing fallout there. And then through the 70s, we just continued to measure the total suspended particulate. That was all particles of every size. And then in 1985, we moved to the South Mountain area, or I think we actually put an additional site in South Mountain, and I'm not even sure where South Mountain is. I don't know if Randy has any. So, but we put it
south.
It's a mountain in the south. We put a nephelometer in there, and we're measuring PM 2.5 there. And then starting in 2001, we moved to Mason General Hospital and had a nephelometer there. Measuring PM 2.5. And if I haven't explained for anyone that doesn't know, the total suspended particulate was all particles, but research in the 80s and the early 90s showed that the real health concern was on the smallest particles in the atmosphere. And so that was any particle whose diameter was 2.5 microns or micrometers, or a millionth of a meter in size. And so we switched over from measuring the total suspended particulate to the very smallest particles in the atmosphere. And then April 2011, we moved from Mason General Hospital was doing some remodeling, and so we needed to move our monitor. And we found a new home at the Shelton Fire Station, and so we have been there since 2011. And in 2019 and through 2020, we did a saturation study in Mason County where we put out additional purple air sensors in 3 additional locations throughout the county to verify how representative our Shelton Fire Station was. So I will, next slide, Dan. The results of our Mason County saturation study, this is May 2019 through April 2020. These are the daily PM 2.5 concentrations at all of the sites where we had a purple air sensor. And the top bar, you see that's the reference nephelometer. And then right below that is the purple air sensor that was co-located with it. And so what you want to see is those 2 bars looking almost identical, which they do. It's great. And then we also had sensors at the Timber Lakes Community Center, Belfair Fire Station up in the North County, and at Bordeaux Elementary that was on the hill up above, just to see if there was any differences in that elevation. And what you see is that for the most part, the fire station is representative of the other 3 sites spread across the county. When we see the yellow bars, that indicates moderate air quality. The dark green is very, very good, and the lighter green is what I call good plus. So it's that transition between good and moderate. But we used this data and determined that the Shelton Fire Station was representative of the air quality throughout the county. And even surprisingly, I had thought maybe the Bremerton site would be more representative of Belfair, and it was not. The Shelton Fire Station is still the air monitor to look to for county air quality. So next slide. And here's our 24 years of Mason County daily air quality index, which you can see from 2001 to 2024. What you'll notice is that most of our yellow-orange days happened in the winter, and that was much worse back in the early aughts. Then as you move down, you'll start to see some purple and red days pop up in the summer, and that you will probably all remember is due to our recent wildfire events. And the last couple of years, we've been spared the worst of that. We have seen a few modern days from wildfire smoke, but for the most part, we've been spared those really bad days. So that is in large part due to our location relative to the ocean. We get a nice sea breeze that kind of pushes in and forms almost this bubble of protection around ORCAA's region. And so we tend to see that in most of our counties. So I think that is all I have on air monitoring and the history of air monitoring in Mason County. So back to Dan or Mike. I'm not sure. I think Dan.
Dan, kick it off.
Okay, so yeah, as you saw in those graphs, the yellow is mostly attributed to smoke and smoke from fires, whether it's indoor burning, outdoor burning, wildfires. Smoke is the #1 source of particulate matter of PM 2.5 for us. Indoor burning has been a concern. Again, it's a forest country. It's a county built on the timber industry. And so people have ready access to firewood, which isn't a bad thing. But I think in 2016, I got approval from the state to expand our wood stove replacement program, the wood smoke reduction grant, to Mason County, Shelton area initially, and then in the last 2 cycles, the full county. But being able to offer residents of Mason County now all of our resources from that grant to take their old uncertified wood stoves out of circulation and put in new ones has been a great help for the community. I don't have the total numbers. I've been working on a report for the June board meeting on the entire history of the wood stove changeout program, so I'll share that with you there. But I want to say in the last 6 or 8 years, we've replaced well over 150 stoves in Mason County, maybe 200, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that would account for about 40 tons of particulate matter a year being out of the airshed. Wildfire events are another source of concern. Fortunately, as Odell noted, the last couple of years haven't been bad, but we saw for the first time ever our Western Washington counties really get inundated in, I think 2017-18 were the bad years. And so we've been more aware of that. As I mentioned earlier, working with the county and DNR on their wildfire ready neighborhoods and getting that wildland urban interface work done to get the word out about how to respond to those events when they do occur. And that's really all ORCAA can do, is be a resource for information and monitoring, sharing. And then outdoor burning, and I'm gonna let Mike jump in on that.
All right, well, outdoor burning, actually, the next slide I'll talk to you a little bit. We basically, residential burning in Mason County is allowed without a permit. You can do up to a 4-foot pile. Of course, only natural grown vegetation on the parcel where it occurs. That's something that confuses people. You're not supposed to cut it somewhere and then move it. Otherwise, lots become like the burning lot, and we don't want that for the neighbors. We have an agreement with Mason County Fire Marshal that he issues, in this case, it could be he or she will issue the land clearing burn permits for the area, and then they will assist with as many of the complaints as they can do. So that helps us out quite a bit. We, however, do maintain the authority to do the violation writing if need be. Your current fire marshal up there, Randy, is really good. He works with us real well. So we appreciate that cooperation. And throughout the fiscal year 2025 so far, we've had 71 complaints that we have fielded, aside from the marshal. And and again, so we are up there helping the fire marshal out, and he helps us out, but they do all the permits for land clearing burns, but we get involved still, as you can see, with several of them because of that. So we also, sorry, it's my slider on. Next slide, Dan, please. We also require asbestos and demolition notifications for any demolition or asbestos work in the area. Asbestos is considered an air contaminant through a NESHAP federal program. So we are tasked with overseeing that, and we work with the Mason County Building Department as much as we can about, you know, when they got demolitions and stuff. We go up there. We don't see a lot of notifications. It's, you know, we rely on the building department and the county to really get the word out when people come in for permits to rebuild or remodel. But fiscal year so far, we've had 16 demolition notifications and 28 asbestos notifications in Mason County. Some counties are a lot more, you know, again, we just need to continue to outreach with the county to help get the word out on that. Okay, so we have a portal that people can enter Mason County without coming into the office. It's just, you pull up your computer, go to ORCAA, and it's a really easy step through process for all the notifications for the demolitions and asbestos, and it's used countywide. Dan has done a great job in setting that up. We will continue to work with the planning and permit departments to make better awareness so that I can see in the future those demolition numbers increasing. Especially as, you know, people develop lots and they tear down old homes. The next thing that we do from a compliance standpoint is we go out to businesses. In Mason County, we have 67 businesses that we register, so 67 businesses that are emitting some different things, anywhere from VOCs to particulate matter that Odell was talking about. We inspect all 67 of them within at least every 2 years. Several of them are on a 1-year cycle. The very small ones are on a 2-year cycle. So last year we did 59 inspections in Mason County. We collected inventory where they supply us with how much material they're emitting. And we required that of the highest emitters in each county, and there was 11 sources in Mason County that we asked for that. What you're seeing here, I'm assuming, is Sierra Pacific Shelton. Used to be Simpson, downtown Shelton. And that is our one and only AOP source, our Title V source in Mason County.
Is that a water treatment plant in the front? What are those 4 things?
That is a very good question. It's not one of my sources. So I'm sorry. I should know that, but I have not been there. So I don't want to guess.
No worries. Keep going.
Now, this is your Mason County fearless leader here, Randy. You can see him by the conveyor. We went and did a site inspection at Pacific Coast Fiber Fuels. So they get credit and props for allowing us to do a tour and an inspection at the same time. It's Ray is the one with the blue hat and the blue coat. He's the manager out there. He's been out there ever since the facility was built, which was somewhere in the neighborhood of 2007 or 8, I think, somewhere like that. He's been there a long time. And he's always been there. He's been really good. We had problems in the beginning, but he's worked with us and we got them all resolved. This emission source here that we looked at, it has efficiency cyclones. It has a combustion source on site that we inspect, particulate. And again, it's been a great site to go to have a tour because Ray was I think Randy would agree. It's very interesting to see how they take those wood chips and make a little pellet out of it. Very informative. We were also accompanied by our attorney, Jeff Myers, to learn some about this, and then Mark Ziegler from the city of Shelton. It was really nice to have that. And that is what we do in the compliance section. Now I'll turn it over to Jeff, I think, for questions and discussion.
So yeah, just a summary, a little bit of some of the work that ORCAA does around in Mason County. Randy, thank you. I know we're on the agenda for the Mason County Board of Health presentation on May 27th. So looking forward to, again, sharing this information with the Board of Health. Next up for our regional focus presentations is going to be Grays Harbor. So Georgia, I'll be reaching out to schedule a meeting with you and a few of us to kind of do some initial planning around that. We've pulling together some ideas for suggestions for inspections, site visits that could be of interest. But I guess, are there any questions or additional comments about Mason County?
One little comment on it. If you get a chance to go to one of those inspections, take it. It was actually very, very informational, but you have a greater understanding of the relationships that they have with our people, which was definitely pretty wonderful. And just to answer your question without it being a joke, if you look at the Olympic region, mountains, where the mountains are, the south part that's closest to Shelton, that's where South Mountain is, on the very
Okay.
bottom of the Olympic area there.
Cool. That's great to hear that you're taking the presentation to the Board of Health. We should institute asking people what they did with the information other than bringing it to the board. So I don't know, Greg,
What do you mean? We're not doing that already?
I know.
He's just following Jefferson County's lead. Is it really what's
Oh, yeah.
happening?
Good. That's great.
Yeah, so a couple weeks after the presentation at the February ORCAA board meeting, we drove up, or a number of us drove up and gave the presentation to the Jefferson County Board of Health. In Port Towns, so yeah,
That's really cool. Nice. Well, so I just say, as we're getting early in those conversations, we should work to schedule those, like if we know even what the rest of the rotation is. I'd love to work with our Board of Health and our city council to make sure there's placeholders on the calendar.
sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. Great. Mason County's cool, but
Always.
almost as cool as Thurston.
Always.
All right.
The only thing Thurston doesn't have going for it is it's not Mason County.
This is really from left field, but I had the opportunity to tour a studio in Hollywood last week. And they told us that asbestos was the snow that the actors were walking in. Now they use potato flakes because they're non-toxic.
Yeah, in the
But
old
like,
days.
but like White Christmas, all asbestos. Yeah.
That gives you a whole different view.
Uh-huh, right. You wonder why they all smoked and died early, right? Anyway. Okay, so that is going to take us to our executive director's update.
Okay, well, great. Thank you. So a lot of good work going on, as we've already highlighted a bit. I've just got a few things I wanted to mention before handing things over to Mike for the compliance manager report. So as I mentioned, or when I introduced Tiffany, I introduced her as the agency's public records officer. So she was promoted to that. So that mantle moved from Debbie to Tiffany as of April 1st. So
I don't know whether to clap or apologize.
So
She's gonna make a records request.
Yeah.
Which I had rolled in while we were sitting in the.
So Tiffany has been handling all of those for the past few months. She did get her Washington Public Records Officer certification a few months ago. So she's excited to have her in that role. So also kind of staffing and HR related. Been working with Compensation Connections, our HR contractor, to review agency job descriptions with respect to overtime eligible versus overtime exempt status. Currently only 2 agency positions, my own and Mike's, are overtime exempt. But as of July 1, we're moving an additional 10 positions to overtime exempt status, while 6 will remain overtime eligible. And that kind of just brings the agency more in line with federal labor law and standard practice for positions like ours, for agencies like ours. Continuing the HR theme, again, the ORCAA Policies and Procedures Manual is a board-approved document covering a wide range of topics, mostly HR. And over the past few years, we've been working to pull some things out of that, out of the board approved documents and putting them in standalone documents, staff documents that don't need board approval to make updates. For example, as you probably remember, we've pulled out some health and safety information that's now in an agency's safety and accident prevention plan. We pulled a lot of IT topics, our purchasing policy out. And so continuing to move in that direction, working closely with Debbie and with Tyson on this effort. And we're just because we've got a number of updates we need to be making in the coming months. Ideally, we would get something to you before, say in June, to approve before the start of our fiscal year. But given everything going on, I'm not sure that we're gonna get there. But just wanted to let you know that this is an effort that we're continuing, and we will be, again, bringing this to to the board here in the next few months. And just wanted to see if there were any questions or concerns about that effort. Again, I think it's pretty consistent with what we've been doing in the past, again, for the past few years. Not hearing any concerns about that, but if you do have any concerns, certainly reach out to me and I can fill you in on it, provide more information about kind of what we're thinking. We are thinking about calling it, it's really will just be a personnel manual, because a lot of the procedures are actually coming out. It'll just be really just personnel issues that will be covered in that board approved document. Let's see. Next topic is just update on the agency database. Talked a little bit about this last month at our meeting. We did release a request for proposals for new agency database on March 3rd. The original deadline for submitting the proposals was April 7th, but we've received so much interest and so many questions about the RFP that it took us an extra week to put our response to questions together. So we've pushed the submittal deadline out to April 21st. I'd like to thank the database team, Debbie, Jennifer, Tyson, and Chris for a monumental effort to put together a 65-page document responding to all of the questions that we got on that. So that got posted, and again, so now as I mentioned, the deadline for getting proposals in is April 21st. We'll be taking a few weeks to review those, probably scheduling some demos, and then our goal is to select our contractor and to get everything in place so that work can start probably in July. Let's see. As was mentioned with the Finance Committee this morning, one of the biggest uncertainties with our next fiscal year budget is the ongoing level of federal grants in terms of our federal funding and everything going on with the administration. So we're currently at about $175,000 of our federal money from the EPA. That's only about 6% of our revenue, but it's important, and we're looking carefully at this. That's, again, as I mentioned, one of the biggest unknowns with our budget in terms of, is that funding going to continue or not? And there have been a lot of national, of course, conversations with that. NACA, the National Association of Clean Air Agencies, has surveyed member agencies. I think there's about 130 member agencies of local agencies like ORCAA, as well as state agencies that are part of the organization. And they released earlier this week, or maybe last week, a memo kind of those survey results. So Dan can put that link to that document in the chat. I just thought if you'd be interested in kind of knowing how does the federal government support the kind of on the ground work that local and state agencies do. And if I can certainly follow up with that link in an email, if that would be helpful too. So. Okay, so I think that's it for me. So unless there's any questions for me, then I'll hand it off to Mike for his compliance manager update.
All right, no questions. I guess I'll jump in and go with the compliance update. You guys were sent the compliance packet, so like after I'm done with a quick little spill, I'm happy to answer any questions if I can on the packet. And of course, you can always, get a hold of me after the meeting and down the line if you see things on there that come to mind and raise questions. With that being said, want to highlight the inspectors. They were out at smoke school in March and they all passed on the first try. So that's a good thing. We also are in the process. We just finished interviewing for the final open position of the inspectors that we have. And we hope we're checking references, hope to have an offer by late this week or early next week, and then we'll be fully staffed in the compliance team. So that'll be very nice, especially as summer comes and we start getting a lot more inspections to do. For the engineering staff, I want to highlight Abby and Jennifer, Engineer 1 and Engineering Supervisor. They presented at the Thurston County Expanding Your Horizons Conference. I think I got that right. Jen's been doing it for a lot of years. Liddell's done it in the past. And we even got Emily there doing some stuff this year. So great. And they were there. It's a great program. It's geared towards middle school age girls, trans, non-binary youth. And they're basically trying to, encourage participation in science and STEM programs. So that's a big thing they do every year. They had a bigger turnout this year than they've had in the past, so that was good, at least from in the classroom. And they were showing the experiments that I think Jen showed last month at the end of the program. And so it was great to have a board member also there. Thank you, Emily, for doing that. And again, hopefully we can continue that on for a while. So that was, other than that, we're doing all the day-to-day business we've always done.
Okay. Question? Okay. I don't remember who's next. I lost my agenda, so.
Next it goes to Odell.
All
Okay.
right, Dan, could you pull up my slides? Thank you. What's that? Okay, next slide. Nope, other one. You had it right before. There we go. Next slide. So, air monitoring report for March 2025, air quality summary. First thing that you will notice on this lovely slide is there is no Chesapeake site. In February, we lost power to the site somewhat permanently. I think I mentioned that at the last board meeting. So, not collecting any data, I'm not just gonna show you gray bars. I'll get back to Chesapeake later, but we of course now have our new Sensois Forks site up there. We did get 2 moderate days in Forks, not surprising. It's a little colder and there's a lot more wood stoves in Forks. So early of the month, but then after that, it's been green and light and dark green as the rest of our sites have been. And of course, Raymond and Aberdeen have been very, very good, and that's not uncommon for our coastal sites. They definitely get more of a breeze and stay pretty good. You'll notice we're missing a few sites, days in Lacey. We did have I'm not sure what happened. We were out at breakfast. It was Sunday morning, a circuit popped somewhere and we lost power all over a large swath of Thurston County, lost power. And so when that happened, we actually popped a few circuits at the monitoring site and the monitor did not come back on. And so we lost that part of Sunday and a good part of Monday until I could get over there and fix it. So that is all I have on monitoring. I think at this point in the year, we sort of switch over to generally good until we see wildfire smoke intrusions. So expect a lot of green in the coming months, at least hope for a lot of green in the coming months. So monitoring updates. So let's talk about Chesapeake a little bit. Went up there last month to just button up the site, remove some of the Ascent equipment, patch up holes in the roof where, not holes, but portals where inlets had been, prep the trailer for the move, and we are still working on agreements with ORCAA and EPA for a site relocation. We've picked a site, just having to get the memorandums of agreement and the relocation plans. I'll talk a little bit more about that at the very end. One thing I do want to say is that there was a lot of dismay for myself and other people at the site that we had just spent quite a bit of money updating the site, buying a new trailer. We've only been there a year at the beautiful upgraded site and now we have to move. But what I really want to say is it is an amazing thing that we did do that site upgrade and get that new shelter when we did, because this move would not have been really possible without the new trailer. At this point, everything is very mobile. We can just hook it up, drive it to a new location, plug it back in and just be ready to go. And that just would not have been possible at all. So it was definitely not a waste. And in fact, it was very, 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 very fortunate that we got that art grant and we did that when we did. So Grace Harbor saturation study report, I'm still working on that. I'm still planning and hoping to have that done in time for the June focus on Grace Harbor.
Probably July.
Oh, good. Yay. Okay, so now I have no excuse. I really do have to get it done. Okay. We did some quarterly nephelometer checks in Shelton. As usual, we had to do the monthly beta attenuation monitor and a nephelometer check now at Lacey. The Department of Ecology has bumped up our PM 2.5 grant to account for the fact that we have to go to that site every month to do those rather than every 3 months as the nephelometer sites are required. The new shelter that we have ordered for the Lacey site through the IRA grant, The plans have been submitted. We've approved the plans. They've been approved by the engineer and they've been submitted to Washington State L&I for state approval and certification. And that's kind of where the bottleneck is going to be for us. Shelter One said they're taking about on average 12 to 16 weeks to get those approvals through. They're a little bit behind and backed up. So that's kind of what we're waiting on. And then they will build the shelter and hopefully still be on target to deliver in July or August. And then we've been working a lot with the Quinault tribe. We've agreed to support their site modem for Taholah because the only cellular service in Taholah is US Cellular, which the state, who normally supports those modems, can't contract with US Cellular. They have an agreement with Verizon that they would only go with Verizon. So ORCAA, because it is in our region and it is helpful for us to have a monitor there, on tribal land, we've agreed to support that modem, but we're still having some issues with that modem configuration that Ecology and US Cellular engineers are working to get ironed out. So hopefully we'll see a green dot in Taholah very soon. That is my hope. So really quickly, I just wanted to give you guys the update. This is where we are planning. Oh, thank you, Dan. I forgot to say next slide. This is a map that shows Chicopeak. And where we are planning to move, which is about 5 miles northwest of Chicopeak at roughly the same elevation. So next slide.
There's 5 miles left.
This is the new, this is a bird's eye view of the new site. This is a radar site for the FAA. You can see that white building kind of off on the left side. And then it's also the site of the regional cell tower. That's the smaller building down there. Thank you, Dan. Right there, and then that little black arrow, if you go back one, is where we are planning on locating the new, right in between where that red X is where the new the trailers will sit at the new site. Okay, so next slide. So here's a couple of photographs of that. So that's our truck. You can kind of see the landscape topography there, and right behind the truck is where those trailers will sit, and you can see the green power box, and so that's where we will have to get power from that green box to the trailer, so not very far. Huh?
The view is amazing.
Well, the view is actually not from there, but if you walk up the road and you go around the cell tower to the other side, that is the view, and it was the clouds actually parted right before we left that day, and I had to snap that picture. It is pretty gorgeous up there. So we are, and I will say that the road up to this site is in much better condition, and the UW student who runs the Ascent project could not stop raving about the fact that there were guardrails on the road. She said it's like a warm hug, like they don't want us to die. So that is all I've got on air monitoring, unless there are any questions.
Well, Odell, one thing that I'll add is that, because it came up a little bit at the finance committee meeting, is that we're not sure if it would be a permanent move to Pahokis or whether it would be a temporary move. And that's something we're still kind of in conversation with the macaws about.
Yes. So so when Rob and I had gone up the last time, we ran into a big tanker truck of like a fuel truck driving down the mountain, which is what we suspect is how the FAA is keeping their site running with their backup generator. That's a pretty big expense. So I don't know, the macaw, you know, they're not going to share everything they know or their deals with the FAA and what's happening there. When we initially talked to the macaw, we had decided that it would be a permanent move to Pahokis, but then as of last week, and they had talked to their real estate, they said, well, we're now thinking it's temporary. And so I asked some clarification questions, and we have a meeting on Thursday then to clarify what that means. Temporary until power is restored, temporary, you have this long. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what that means, but
Is there a scientific advantage to either side?
No, the point is that they're roughly the same.
Okay, cool.
One thing I am curious about is the Pahokis Peak is downwind most of the time from Chicopeak. And if they are running that generator there, I'd really like to see if we can pick up some of those emissions and see what those look like at Pahokis Peak. So that would be an interesting sciencey thing. But other than that, no, the two sites should be roughly equivalent.
Do you need to get EPA approval from?
We do.
Corps?
We will be going, meeting with the EPA representatives on Tuesday. We have another trip planned up there for additional trailer maintenance and just making sure that the humidity doesn't damage any of our equipment. So putting in some dryers and stuff. And so EPA has taken that opportunity and they're gonna come out and meet us there and check out the new site, check out the old, and actually do some work with the tribe as well. So it'll be a good meeting for them.
Okay, any other questions for Odell? All right, thank you.
One other thing I had, you did not mention any updates on the EV charger. I wasn't sure if you wanted me to.
I think Tyson was going to.
Okay, perfect.
Totally sure. Okay, Dan.
Okay, well, briefly, you've got the communication report in your packet. Couple things of note, linking on Odell's work, behind the scenes on our website, we did have our contractor, the Rhizome Collaborative, rework our air quality widget so that we're drawing data from the State Department of Ecology's servers instead of the EPA Air Now site. EPA Air Now did not recognize sensors such as the SenseWA devices that were deployed in Forks and that we'll be deploying in each of our 6 counties in the coming years. So we switched that over. Pretty seamless as far as the users are concerned, but now when they go to the air quality map, all of the sites will show up. The 6 primaries that are used as reference for our counties remain in the drop-down menus and show up as the pins on the map, and then all the sensors and secondary sites will show up as squares. So we'll have we set basically, because we got Forks already in place, we set the stage so that as we deploy those SenseWAs, they can seamlessly be added to our online presence. Also working with the Rhizome Collaborative on the joint project I've talked about in the past, the resource sharing service with all of our other partner agencies, the local airs and state agencies. We are seeing some of the assets coming out of that contract now. We put $5,000 into the total, I think was a $56,000 award to Rhizome. Got 5 campaigns. They've provided the graphics and social media assets for a diesel and health campaign that was requested by local health departments in the Puget Sound region that contributed significantly to the program as well. And you'll see on the news you can use, the first week of May is the Air Quality Awareness Week for us. May is Air Quality Awareness Month, and you'll see the links on that jump to some of the assets that the Rhizome Collaborative did for the resource share Echo Northwest. And right now those are draft. I should have the finals this afternoon. And the nice thing is I get the native files, not just PDFs or JPEGs. So I have the native InDesign or Canva files. So we'll be able to modify those, drop our own logo in and our own QR code so that when those go out to our social, they'll be linked directly to us, not to the Northwest Air Quality Communicators group. I will make sure I save those at the same file name and the same URL so that you can just use those links that are on the News You Can Use page for Air Quality Awareness Week. And I really encourage you to make sure you and your staff do that. May 5th, I think, is Monday through the 9th, Friday. Share those messages and amplify our message of clean air and the work of ORCAA and its sister agencies. That said, the other thing to note is we do have community events coming up. In fact, this weekend is the Olympia Big Home and Remodel Show in Lacey, St. Martin's. We'll be there with a booth and encourage anybody out and about to stop by. It looks like it might be a little blustery and rainy, so a good time to get indoors and talk to ORCAA and our partners there. End of the month, I'm going to go out to Yelm and work with the Southeast Thurston Fire Authority on their Wildfire Ready Neighborhood Workshop. And then May 17, 18, we'll be in Grace Harbor in Elma at the Home and Garden Show out there. Oh, and our wood stove, I forgot my big project. We have that the wood smoke reduction grant was covered in the budget. You've heard about for years. We do great work with that this year. I've fully allocated the entire fund. So the total grant was $288,000 for the biennium. Technically runs through June, but I've we've either completed or approved enough projects to wrap that up. To date, I've approved 219 stove removals. About half of those are or more than half now are replacements. So putting in natural gas or mostly ductless heat pumps throughout. I think we have at least one project in every county in our 6 counties. Thurston, Mason, and Jefferson were the standouts in the numbers we're doing. So, and quite a few in Grace Harbor as well. So we'll work on beefing that up once the state legislature gets the budget out and ecology has the numbers in hand. They'll issue a new grant that we can apply for, and typically we get that in probably August and apply, and then actually get a contract in place probably in October. So look forward to that this fall, but I've been working with our vendors, making sure that we're going to meet their needs in the next cycle. We do anticipate essentially the same level of funding. The money comes from the MATCA fund, which is pretty stable and secure in the current budget. Any questions for me?
Questions for Dan? Great work, sir. Thank you. Tyson.
Yeah, so finance. Pleased to report that I've successfully closed out 1 month and have gone through 1 payroll cycle. During this final month with Lynn, I hope to solidify existing knowledge of the position's duties and touch on some of those unique aspects of the position. So, and as we've talked about, we have started the procurement process for acquiring the new database. And we are in the process of reviewing questions right now. I think the next step is to really look at proposals as they come in. We plan on having that budget come out of a contingency fund, and the first expense for the database to hit in the fiscal year 26. Just a quick note, following up on a comment I made last month regarding the ASAP system. Last month, we were not able to initiate a federal drawdown through the ASAP system. That has resolved itself, so we can now initiate federal drawdowns through the ASAP system, so that's good. As Jeff had noted, we are currently working on revising the policy manual for ORCAA. Hopefully we'll get that done effective July 1st, but we'll see. We have a lot on our plate going on. We are planning on bringing a budget amendment in May, and that's due to an anticipated increase in costs associated with the Friends of Grace Harbor case. So the board can expect to see that sometime in May. Onto the building and operations and maintenance. We have not hired for a part-time maintenance technician position. We have not filled that position as of yet. Kind of our next steps for that is to reach out to prior applicants to gauge any renewed interest in that position. And we do have someone in line for that position who we will be interviewing this week. So Space 103 still remains vacant. The monthly rent has been set at $13.95. I may look at expanding our online advertisement efforts to include more real estate focused websites. So if you know of anyone that's looking for any sort of space, please let us know. Also, is real quick. Sure.
Tyson's created a super handout for posting if you want to take it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a great handout.
Yeah.
Nice.
Recently, it was also brought to our attention that there's a leak present somewhere on our property.
Slowly.
It's a slow leak. We think that it's not in the building, just based on us kind of listening, looking. We haven't seen any evidence of a leak. We do have a plumber coming in next week to try to determine where this leak is happening. So more information on that. Also, we are in the process of contracting with an electrician for the installation of an EV charger on the north side of the building. We're planning a dual plug. And with that, we will also be installing a security fence. So I'm in charge of contracting that out as well. Moving on to ORCAA Wellness, I just want to give a thanks out to Aiden. He recently submitted an application to AWC, and we were one of 10 entities out of 75 who received an honorable mention for the Golden Apple Award by AWC. So that was really cool.
Okay.
And last but not least, since this is Lynn's last board meeting, I just want to give a special thanks to Lynn. She's been very supportive in transitioning me into this role of financial service manager for ORCAA, and she's been nothing but open to any sort of questions I have, and she is definitely has a huge breadth of knowledge to draw from, and I just want to say that I appreciate your efforts, Lynn. So thank you very much.
Thank you for being here.
That's it for me.
Thank you, Tyson. Thank you, Lynn. Okay. Any questions for Tyson? Anything for the good of the order? Jeff?
Jim, I just wanted to mention, Tyson mentioned the upcoming budget amendment from the FOG case. That's the PNWRE appeal. We've been working very hard on that case. Both parties have submitted motions for summary judgment. Those are pending before the board. We hope to have a ruling on that probably by the first part of May. We also got a significant settlement of some penalties on an asbestos demolition case in the city of Olympia that we are finalizing the settlement agreement on. So just wanted to note those two things. And Jakob continues to work on various appeals with the PCHB as well.
All right.
And I just have to add, I work with him on some of those. He's doing a great job to talk to them and get some dismissed that technically don't work anymore. So thank you. You're doing a great job.
Good. Good report. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
I have one, well, I'll try and make it as quick as I can, but, I emailed Dan, if you wanted to pull that up, Dan. Awesome. I wanted to just show everyone, as it's been mentioned a couple times, I know it's kind of hard to read up there on the screen, but I'll just talk about it real quick. This was one of the handouts that I provided at the Expanding Your Horizons conference where I did the inversion demo. I failed at it because I didn't put enough water in the jars, so I should have taken better notes when you showed it to me last month, but it still was really fun and the kids had a really good time. I think it was Odell that gave me the advice. I can't remember who gave me the advice that the hardest part is getting the kids to stay engaged. Was that you?
Yeah.
No.
Could've been any one of us.
Maybe, I don't know, but
We would all give you that
yeah,
advice.
probably, yeah, and I remember at our last meeting, I mentioned that I was gonna talk about how science connects to public policy and social justice, and I had a lot of like, oh my gosh, how old are these kids? Are they gonna like be able to engage with that? And that was a good reaction that the board gave me because it helped me kind of think through like, okay, these are middle schoolers. Are they gonna be engaged with it? What's gonna make them excited? And so I put together a handout, a couple handouts. I had candy on the tables. I had a couple different ways to try to get them engaged. The candy really helped. And I had a friend who was helping me just kind of, I was like, come help me. All you have to do is make jokes and get the kids to laugh. And it was great because she was like throwing candy at the kids for raising their hands and getting them to talk. So that was helpful. I don't know if any of you have kids in your lives who may have shared this ridiculous video called Skibbity Toilet with you. it's some really bizarre, weird song that's just the same thing over and over and over. And all the kids are talking about it. And so I decided for my policy challenge that the kids would be part of Skibbity City Council, and that got them, you know, really engaged. They were laughing at that. But I basically connected the inversion demo to a public policy simulation on winter burn bans. And I've been going around asking people, adults lately, did you know why there's a winter burn ban? And people don't know. And so I thought it was a really perfect, timely thing for me to learn, because I didn't know why there were winter burn bans either until our last meeting. And it was perfect. I did the inversion, and then we moved right into a policy simulation where I talked about, you know, that Skibbity City Council has not really ever had a firm policy on burn bans in the winter. You know, you've allowed survival fires for those who live in homeless encampments without needing a policy, but now you have an aging population and air quality is becoming more of a concern. How are you going to reconcile these two needs of the community? And we talked through it, and the kids had a lot of really good insight. Some of them came up with solutions that we already use, and I was like, you just came up with that right now on the spot. That's so cool. Like mutual aid and outreach and shelters and stuff like that. So we talked about what we do when there's a code blue, and it was a great conversation, and the kids left behind some of the sticky notes that they wrote on, and I was able to read through those after, and it was just really moving, honestly, to see the kids engage. And I was told that there would be 6 kids in my workshop, and there actually ended up being 13 because so many wanted to switch over to mine at the last second. So I was able to accommodate like the bigger group, which was really fun. And I just wanted to say thanks to everyone on the team for doing the demos here so I could kind of see it, even though I need practice apparently on the inversion demo, but that's okay. The kids are really gracious. I was like, see, this is why I am, you know, I'm not a scientist, but I have to use science to inform public policy. So this is a great example of what I don't know, and we can't be afraid to talk about what we don't know. So yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'll be doing it again next year. So I just really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Great, well, thanks. Yeah, it was really interesting. And to see how you wove in information from the board meeting into this exercise, which was just a few days later. So
yeah,
that's great to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah.
It goes to show you, if you offer candy, word gets out.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say, and we already get candy.
She has candy, yeah.
Yeah, I ate it. It's gone now.
Just thanks for engaging in the topic. It's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well,
Yeah.
Actually, that's the secret for all engagement. You want to do it and feed them.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
And we now know how to get
Yeah.
Randy here.
Right.
Yeah.
I just have one quick thing, and then we'll move to a short, probably a 20-minute executive session. Last night, the Olympia City Council took action to sell our old city hall to the Squaxin Island Tribe. And they're gonna build a convention center and hotel at I-5 and Plum Street in downtown Olympia. Probably one of the longest standing needs in our region, and to be able to do that with the tribe, and to give them trust that they'll build an outcome that the community wants. Is the reparation in our mind for taking their land originally as a nation. And so just such an exciting night. I wanted to pass it along. You might see something about it in the paper as well. Yeah. Okay, anything else quickly? Okay, nothing else for the good of the order. So I'm gonna amend just slightly and go with a 20-minute executive session. So the board will now meet in executive session for 20 minutes, to discuss the executive director's performance review as allowed by RCW 42.30.110G. The board will be in executive session until that will be 11:59 by the time I'm talking or so. And at which time the regular session will reconvene. The board is not expected to take action following the executive session. And then if the board's okay with it, I'd like to have Jeff Myers and Jeff Johnston stay so that we can have a conversation with our attorney who works closely with the board and executive director as well. Is that okay with everyone? Okay, so Dan, if you can facilitate the. All right. Hello, everyone, and I'm just reporting back that the ORCAA board is out of executive session, and unless there's any objection, we will adjourn. No actions were taken. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great Come on, we'll see you soon.
Take care.